back to my YouTube channel. It's your girl Pearl, and this is where we talk about everything to do with health, wellness, and mindset to help you feel better and thrive. Now today I'm doing a little bit of a different video. I was supposed to be doing the video about weight loss and top mistakes to avoid when losing weight, but due to the turbulent times we've had and I took a break from posting content, and I wanted to make a video just to address a couple of things I've been seeing and just a couple of tips that have helped me navigate through these tough times, and maybe some of you might find this helpful as well. This is not my typical content, but I think it's so important to address certain issues and try to support people through this time especially. I'm just going to touch on a few things that I think are really important and how to navigate these turbulent and uncertain times right now that we're in. And especially as a human with more melanin in my skin, I just think it's important for me to say something on my page, on my social, on my YouTube channel, just to be a part of the change that we can make and help people move forward. Now, I'm not going to go into details about the BLM movement and all that stuff. I'm sure you've heard a lot of it. I'm just going to talk about some tips on how to navigate these times and what has helped me. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is setting boundaries. This is something that has helped me immensely. When the Black Lives Matter movement first came about, I found it so overwhelming. There was so much out there, so much news, so much on social media. Every single person, every mom, sister, dog, dad, everyone, every human, every breathing person was posting about this. And then if they weren't, people were like, oh, why don't you post about this? And I just found it so overwhelming. On the first day that I saw the content, it was a Monday for me, I literally spent 8 hours on my Instagram, on my phone, scrolling, reading, replying, responding, and getting riled up sometimes, you know? And I think it's so important to set boundaries. Since that day, I swore to myself, I was like, Pearl, I'm never going to do that again. I need to set boundaries for myself. And on the days that I felt it was too heavy, on the days I didn't want to check my Instagram or my social media, I didn't. I allowed myself to give myself the permission to not engage in that content. And if I did feel like it, I will set boundaries and only check it maybe 1 hour or 2 hours, but really make sure I leave that time for my mental space. So I think setting boundaries is so important, not only with social media, but also with people in your life. You know, sometimes you have to set boundaries. People might reach out to you, ask you questions, or if you're a person of color, if you're a Black person, maybe people are asking you where to go, what resources to handle. And that's not your responsibility. Unless you want to help them, you can, but it's important to be clear and set those boundaries, expectations about where you're at and what your capacity is. I really think it's so important to take care of ourselves first, and setting boundaries is the best way that we can do that. And the second thing that's really helped me through these times is to take bite-sized chunks. To not overconsume all the content, to not read all the articles and watch all the movies and all the books. To be honest, I haven't dove that deep into the content. I've done a little bit here and there, but I have a bunch of resources, and I have one dedicated night every week that I'm getting together with a group of people, and we're going to go over resources, have a discussion, and talk about it. Personally, I don't believe doing everything all at once or in the week is beneficial or effective. If we really want to make a real change and you want to make it stick, I believe that one of the key things that we can do, of course there's way more things to do, but for me, taking it in bite-sized chunks is so powerful, because if I want to keep learning and educating, unlearning what I have learned, it's so important to keep educating myself. So every week I'm going to spend 2 to 3 hours just really going through content, educating, having conversations, and of course during the days, and if I see anything, I'll speak up. But I think it's so important to have a long-term vision. You don't have to watch all documentaries in a month. You don't have to do everything right now. So it's important to realize that having a long-term vision and making this something you're committed to doing for years, because this is something that's going to take years to unlearn and learn new ways of thinking. And this is something that we really need to consider. So very important to slow down, take your time, really let the information you're learning sit with you, let it get absorbed, make sure you actually understand it. You know, go back to whatever you were absorbing and read it again, look up words. One thing I've implemented this year is to make sure when I'm reading I actually understand. And with topics like these and Black Lives Matter and history and politics and all this stuff, it can get a lot. So give yourself the time and not overwhelm yourself. Taking bite-sized chunks is what has helped me through this time. The third thing I'm going to talk about is having some community. Talking to people, engaging with others, talking to others that might be in the same boat as you is so powerful. And I think especially right now, we need more and more community. We need support. Not only the Black people though, everyone needs support. We need to really have that idea of everyone, we are all the same, we're all humans, we're all doing the best we can, we're all learning and unlearning, and we're all living life together, right? And life is not always easy. So I really think it's so important to have the we mindset, not the them versus me or the I or the you. It's the we mindset, because I believe power comes in numbers, and if we can all take the same mindset and work towards the same goal, I think it's so powerful. So keeping that in mind and trying to build community wherever you're at, diversify your community, reach out to other friends, people of color, indigenous people, age, anyone. Reach out to any humans, make new connections, make new friends, have different perspectives in your life, have challenging conversations, ask about their upbringing if it's open, if they're open and talking about it, just to get a different perspective. I think having a community is important, but also understanding where people are coming from and having that perspective to widen our worldview, and that's how we can really learn to be more compassionate and kinder towards others. Speaking of being more compassionate, the fourth thing I'm going to talk about is self-compassion. Now, I've seen a lot of shame and hate and guilt these days, and people pointing fingers and just not the most supportive attitudes towards others. And I know these times can be very hard, and a lot of people have mixed emotions about things, and people do say some things that aren't that great sometimes, but I really do believe having self-compassion is the starting point for everything. I've heard people in my circle say, oh, I felt so bad, I didn't know this, oh, I'm ashamed, oh, I don't want to be white, or oh, I don't want to be privileged, and oh, this and that, and oh man, and also people pointing fingers and saying, you should be doing this, why aren't you doing this, you're privileged, you should have this, you should and I just think that is such a backwards way of viewing things, because first of all, it's not your fault. You did not ask to be put in the society. Unfortunately, we have been raised in society, and we have certain mindsets, certain views, depending on who your parents were and what they believed, and they got passed on, and that's not your fault. So I really don't think you should be guilty or feel shameful for what you have done and your mindset in the past, but being aware of where you're at and being real with yourself and realizing that, okay, I still have a lot of ways to go, but you know what, who I was yesterday, who I was in the past is not who I'm going to be, and who you were is still okay. Don't be shameful or feel guilty for being that person. And people are feeling ashamed for being privileged, but we all have some sort of privilege. If we are living in a first world country that is developed and advanced, we all have some sort of privilege. Of course, there's levels, and other people have more privilege than others, but even myself, I consider myself privileged to an extent, because I was raised here and I have all these opportunities and a lot of things compared to my family back in Africa. I don't think it's right to beat yourself up or feel shameful. I'm not telling myself, oh, Pearl, wow, I can't believe I was so privileged, and oh, wow, how could I think this way? It's not our fault. The programmings and the subconscious systems we run off of were put into us through society and through other people's opinions. It wasn't our choice. So I think that's something so important to emphasize. So being compassionate towards yourself is one of the main things we can really do, and accepting where you're at and being able and being open to moving forward and making moves and just learning more and advancing as a human. We all have potential to become better, to change our mindset if we really want to, and use times like this to really improve ourselves and level up. I'm always leveling up and trying to be a better human than I was. So there's no room for shame here. Having self-compassion and kindness and self-love for where you're at. Of course, it's easier said than done, but I think it's so important to have a starting point. So self-compassion is so key. And I left the best for last because I think that point is so good. I'm gonna end on that. So just want to recap some of the things that have been really helping me navigate these rough times. And some days are better than others. Some days are rough, and some days I just can't handle social media, and that's okay. And some days I can, and some days I'm there to support people, and some days I'm not. But it's just about meeting yourself where you're at, realizing what you can do to help, forming community, setting boundaries for yourself, and all those things I talked about are so important. So I hope you all are doing okay during these times. I'm sending you all so much love, and we will be back to some regular content next week, but I just really felt like I wanted to share some of those things. And of course, that's not all encompassing. There's so many other things, but I really wanted to share what has been helping me, and maybe some of those nuggets will help you guys. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you're staying healthy and well and thriving. Continue to take care of yourselves. All right, I'll see you next week. Bye, guys.